Well, welcome to another Cutting Edge. I am Omar Neal, one of the hosts of this great show. And of course, I'm the former mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, and the host of the You Got the Power radio talk show. Well, today we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful show today. We're going to talk about something that really engages the public in a special way. We're going to be trying to understand internalized trauma and how to combat compassion fatigue. We got a great lineup for you today. Dr. Rashida Jones, who is a licensed clinical psychologist and owner of the Catalyst Consulting Associate LLC. We have Dr. Mia Smith Bynum, who is professor of family science at the University of Maryland. We have Dr. Fia Emily Shaka. Yeah, I got it now. Emily Shaka. I got it. She is with us as well. And of course, we have Dr. Mel, who is going to be with us. Dr. Emily Shaka is the licensed clinical psychologist and CEO of the founder of Psychology LLC. And we have Dr. Mel. Excuse me, doctor. We know her. She's been on the show several times. She is a physician, and we know her from not only her show, excuse me, doctor. That's really a show, but she is a special person for the show here, the Cutting Edge. We got a great show today. We are going to be saluting the Mental Health Awareness Month this month. And that's why we want to talk about this. As you know, COVID has really taken a toll on many of our mental health issues. And we had them before, but have been exacerbated due to COVID. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it, really delve into mental health, and not only how vicarious trauma can lead to compassion fatigue, how the internalized trauma can lead to compassion fatigue. Well, let me tell you this, we can't do this without my co-host and friend, Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. We call him Dr. T around these parts. Professor of the University of Maryland School of Public Health and director of the Maryland Center for Health Equity. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my dear friend and co-host, Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. Hey, Dr. T, how you doing?
Hey, Omar, it's always good to be with you, my friend. Always good to be with you. And you know what? I look out and it's a beautiful day. I have found myself getting out of the car, going like normal, and then realizing, oh, I got to go back and get my mask. I don't know who I'll be sharing air with in that mall. It's like, I got to go back and get my raincoat. I got to go back and get my umbrella. That's how we have to think about this.
Yeah,
and
it's not over. And
no.
I think that we've gotten to this point where people are sick and tired, and they really want to go back to this sense called normalcy. But we have to protect ourselves, and it's up to us to really have this conversation.
Well, Mr. Mayor, there's a message from the barbershops and salons. Nobody wants to go back to normal, because for far too many Black and brown people, normal meant living sicker and dying younger. So what I'm witnessing in our shops as a result of this effort is folks saying, you know what, we're going to save ourselves. And so the show tonight and the theme around, I'm going to say, emotional wellness is so important, because that's one of the gaps both in our healthcare delivery system, and there's still a lot of stigma associated with it. Let's break through that stigma and help people save their own lives.
Absolutely. Well, that's something that we're going to talk about today. I'm so excited about this show, but we couldn't do this show without our team behind the scenes.
There we
go. What we call it, headed up by Meg Jordan, our technical director, Maggie Daly, assistant technical director, Soraya Khan, social media and communications guru, Kimmy Fleming, social media and media curator, and Elijah Pugh Jr., sound designer. And, we got a new guy coming on, that's going to be with us starting next week. I think we're going to start him out. Jordan Dean, who will be an intern with us here. And we're excited about bringing young talent into this space.
You know, Mayor, I saw you bouncing your head when the theme
Oh
music
man, I
was
love
going
it. I mean, you see me. I'll get up and do the jig, man. I'm telling you.
But I mean, I'm so excited about Jordan coming on, bringing these young teenagers into this space. Let them see careers, give them some agency, and I want the audience to be looking out for ways in which we can engage our young people.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you know, we get this thing out all over the place, man. You can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You can share, like, and subscribe, and make sure that you kind of stay engaged. We also have a newsletter that we put out every week. You can subscribe to our newsletter. It will give you a lot of really good information. It's dynamic. It will give you the show, the previous show goes on there, and we have vignettes from previous shows where you can see just snippets of the show. And so all of that's going to be done. And we do it every week. So, you know, that's wonderful.
Hey, Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
You know, these little squiggly things existed before a pandemic, but the pandemic hit, and now you walk into a restaurant and that's how your menu comes. So I just want to make sure any if my grandmother's out there watching, she knows to put her phone up there, and this is how you register.
Yeah, but you have to also say, put the camera part on your phone. Don't just say, because that somebody would just put their phone up there. Dr. T was wrong.
Just point your camera. Don't
That's
take
right.
a picture. Just point your camera. It'll take care of itself.
Absolutely. That's fun. Well, Dr. T, you know, we're in this space. You know, we talked about it last week, but today made officially 1 million people, Doc.
Yes. 1 million.
1 million.
Moms, dads, brothers, sisters.
Yeah. And, you know, I can't, it's hard to wrap your head around that. You know, it was Dr. Osterholm that said it. He said that if you started naming 1 million people, one by one,
just calling their names,
you would have to do it 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it would take over a year to name them all. If you named them 24 hours, 7 days a week for an entire year, you couldn't name them all at 1 million people. That's the gravity of this. And I think sometimes, you know, statistics,
yes,
you know, cease to motivate people. But when you look at it from the fact that, as you shared, these are moms.
Yes.
We just had Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And just imagine the number of people whose mothers are not here due to COVID, right? We have Father's Day come up, and there are a lot of fathers that are not here and won't be here due to COVID. There are a lot of birthdays and a lot of special events, family reunions that people were missing, right? We got to stop, you know, just saying that this is just something. No, this is something that is reaping havoc,
yes,
on communities and families, and we need to talk about it. And we know that creates a mental health crisis for us.
I just want to say that the children who've lost that grandmother who was a caregiver, who lost that grandfather, who may have ended up in foster care because they lost a parent, okay? All that is out there to be addressed. And so people's life trajectories are being altered by how this pandemic is impacting them.
No doubt about it, man. Let's bring on some folk. Man, we got a great, you know the group we got coming on? Golly. You know, Dr. Rashida Jones, you know, she, you know, when you talk about people who just kind of, when you see them, you say, you know, that person got that it factor. With Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones got that it factor. She's associated with the Black psychologist ABPSY, Association of Black Psychologists. And she's a licensed clinical psychologist and owner of the Catalyst Consulting Associates, LLC. And, so to bring psychologists, people who actually do this work into this space to help us understand this is immeasurable. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming Dr. Rashida Jones. Hey, Dr. Jones, how are you doing?
This is how we clap here.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm so happy to be here.
This is obviously something that we need to talk about in the Black community.
Yeah.
We have a difficult time talking about mental health. Yeah. It's well accepted. We've heard people say you crazy if you and we use terms like that, not knowing that mental health is a health just like physical health. Exactly. You know what I mean? And that people, through no fault of their own, can have challenges in that area, just as we do with the physical health. But in the African American community, we got to really discuss that, because a lot of times people will try to self-medicate or just ignore what they know is happening, and it exacerbates. It gets worse. Yeah. What say you?
Yeah, that's very true. In our community of people of color, there's been a lot of stigma around mental health. It's also a lot of cultural mistrust. There's a reason for the stigma. There's been a lot of harm done by Western psychology, and that's impacted Black and brown people very negatively. And so it makes sense to some degree that we have used outside resources for support, like our pastors, like our beauticians and barbers, and people in the community to get support versus professionals, just because of some of the harm that's been done. But one of my biggest goals in this work is to make mental health just as important as all aspects of physical health, because it's all interconnected. Our mind body is connected. And so as our community starts taking better care of ourselves, we'll be able to heal others, and we'll be able to we'll have a better way to kind of buffer some of the trauma that we've already experienced just within the Black community.
One of the things that we're finding is just even with athletes, that they are taking mental health breaks, and they're giving themselves permission to say, I'm not well. Yeah. And it's okay to say, I don't feel well. And I think more is caught than is taught. People learn best by precept and example. And the more people who talk about it, I think the more others are given permission to do the same.
Yeah, I definitely see that a lot in the work that I do day to day with veterans. That community, it's very frowned upon to get mental health treatment. Things are starting to change in recent years, but there's a lot of depression, a lot of suicide, and other mental health issues that aren't being addressed because people don't feel they can say anything. So they're suffering in silence. Their families are being impacted. Their work's being impacted, their relationships. So I think it's wonderful when I hear a Black man, Black woman say, I'm in therapy, I'm going to see my therapist. And most people, once they started, wish that they had done it a long time ago.
Wow.
Dr. Jones, I'm wondering about the language, and it's hard to get away from some of the baggage of the language. And I want to make sure if we start working on the language, we're not misrepresenting. So, for example, the use of the term managing stress as a way of getting into the mental health space, the use of the term emotional wellness. Mm-hmm. Are those appropriate terms for this kind of a conversation?
I think so, especially considering there is so much stigma. People don't want to feel like they're crazy or there's something weird. And so what I try to do is normalize, we all go through stress, whether it's relationship difficulties, work stress. We obviously, as people of color, are experiencing racism and oppression that affects us deeply. And we're impacted by the traumas we see when our brothers and sisters are killed on TV in front of us. And so it's very normal to want to go see a therapist. And I encourage people, whether it's something as small as working through a change in career, or something as big as you haven't been able to sleep, or you're having suicidal ideation. You don't have to wait until you're suicidal before you get help, or before you're fired from your job because of tardiness and things. it's perfectly normal to start the process early. And I think everybody can benefit from therapy.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I'm so glad you're here, Dr.
I'm
Jones.
happy
This
to
is
be here.
fabulous. This is great. Let's bring up our next guest. Again, this is somebody that we consider family. She's been with us for many, I don't know, maybe over a year when I first met her now. But Dr. Mia Smith Bynum is professor of family science at the University of Maryland. She's one of those people that put it where the cows can get it. I often tell Dr. T, I say, I want Dr. Smith Bynum to come back on because she has a way of really crystallizing and kind of capsulating concepts. And so I'm so glad she's back with us. Dr. Mia Smith Bynum, how are you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for those kind words of Mayor Neal. I really appreciate it. It's always good to come back to family. I appreciate it. And I do think it's probably been 2 years since I joined because we did this in the year one of the pandemic, I think the first time. So
Absolutely. We've
really
been
something.
it's been a while. But
So, Mayor,
go ahead.
I just want to say this because Mia is here with me at the University of Maryland. I was her mentor. We just got her promoted to full professor. Come on, let's snap again.
Oh,
come
wonderful.
on, let's snap.
Wonderful.
Full professor. And guess what? Now we got 2.
Yes. We've increased by 50%.
What a journey. What a journey. And now her expertise around racial identity has been recognized by the American Psychological Association. So she's in the belly of that beast, trying to get them in the right place. Just tell them the title and what you're doing at the American Psychological Association, Mia.
Sure. So I'm on a faculty leave right now, and I'm working at the American Psychological Association as the new Senior Director for Science, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. It's a brand new position.
Come on now, snap it up.
Oh,
snap
yes.
it up.
That's fabulous. That's great.
He's in the belly of the beast.
Oh, you don't have to say it like that.
But look what Dr. Jones said.
We're doing very important work.
How Western psychology hurt us. She's inside now, Mia.
Yeah.
And the Black Association of Black Psychologists out now. Come on now. That's how we work it. Shake the tree and make some applesauce.
Well, I would say one of the good news, I got there right as the APA issued its apology for its role in systemic racism in the field of psychology. And like many mainstream organizations, it's got work to do, but we are headed in the right direction. And my portfolio is basically responsible for, enhancing the best science on people of color and other marginalized communities, and also looking out for the community of scientists who are marginalized, whether that's psychologists of color, the differently abled, LGBTQ plus scientists. So I'm fortunate to be in that moment and bring all of my experience to bear in that regard. So it's a good time to be an APA. I will say that.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to have good people in high spaces, right?
Right. And folk who know where they came from and won't close the door. Okay?
I got friends in high spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. That's wonderful. We're gonna get this. We're gonna have this conversation because we want to talk about, the internalizing of trauma for stylists and barbers. I think Dr. Jones put it best, where many people have gone away from traditional psychologists and they've gone to pastors and stylists and barbers to vent, right? And many times those people don't have the requisite skills, not only to advise them, but also to take care of themselves as they internalize the trauma, the vicarious trauma that's been heaped upon them. So that's something we need to talk about. We need to equip these people.
That is a really excellent point, because as a person who makes sure that I have my hair appointments regularly, I will say that the stress sometimes shows up in the hair. right?
Ah.
So in my conversations with the stylists who've done my hair over the years, so I just love hearing stories. I think if you're a mental health professional, you find human behavior fascinating. And they tell me that they hear about cases of domestic violence for women who sit in their chair. If you're going through stress and your hair starts to fall out, you're going through menopause or all sorts of things, that a lot of times one of the places that it shows up is in the hair. And I think in terms of what we should tell those professionals, whether they're barbers or hairstylists, that vicarious trauma is a thing. Compassion fatigue is a thing. And I think in terms of conducting that work, you have to engage in the same kind of self-care as any mental health professional, whether that's a regular yoga practice, whether that's meditation. I think you also have to be careful about how you schedule your clients to make sure that you don't have so many back to back, that you have some time to get a breather in between, or thinking about how you service certain clients. So I had a stylist who told me that there was a client of his who was going through cancer and dealing with the hair loss of cancer. And because of those sensitivities, he would always service her at the end of the day. So she would come in when there was no one else in the salon, so she could really be comfortable. And that that was a way that he took care of her as a professional. But I think you do have to be careful because it's serious business. And I'm with Dr. Rashida. I think that we need to move to a model of mental health being a part of primary health care. None of us comes through our childhoods unscathed. We all are working on issues that includes us therapists. I think therapists who are seeing clients, and particularly in this time, I have many friends who are in practice. I am not, but you have to modulate how large your practice gets. And they talk about that stress of dealing with that, in that everyone, I think, needs a therapist as a mental health primary care provider, because you need a place to put this stuff, right? That so that you can get some perspective on the things that you're hearing, and then go back into the hair salon, the barbershop, prepared to offer that healing to the members of your clientele.
Mr. Mayor, I do want to mention that working with Mia and the doctoral students that we're training to be therapists, they've done work out in the barbershops, and it worked. The men accepted therapy in the shop. And as we get this conversation going, we'll talk a little bit more about John Hart and the others who have come up with innovative methodologies, destigmatizing the process. And the men, after we just had a little bit of money for it, the men said, "When's the next meeting?" You see what I'm saying? Once we open the door, we need to be able to say, we're here for the long haul. And that's why having both of you here is so important, so we can have psychologists rotate through the barbershop.
Yeah, that's powerful. All right, well, let's bring up our next guest. We got some more coming. Absolutely. Afia Emily Shaka, Emily Shaka, Emily Shaka. Now obviously she has a name that it takes a little bit to get used to, but it flows off the tongue after you get it, right? Afia Emily Shaka, right? I guess that's kind of right, or at least I'm in the ballpark, right? Dr. Emily Shaka, right?
Yes, you got it. It means it has a meaning.
Like, I knew it had a meaning. Tell us the story.
Tell us the meaning about this.
So Emily Shaka is a Zulu name that means together we win. So it's all about collaboration.
Well, I'm Emily Shaka from now on. I'm gonna change my name tomorrow. I'm going down.
Zulu. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, tell us, we saw your professional bio and all that. Tell us about we got an audience out here, barber stylists all over the country. You got people looking at us on Facebook. How would you introduce yourself?
Okay. Yeah, I identify myself as a psychotherapist. I use hair as an entry point into mental health. So although I got my PhD in clinical psychology from Howard University, I then went on to hair school. So I'm actually a trained hair care professional because I felt like it was the most authentic way to enter the hair care space, to be trained in both. So I actually train barbers and hairstylists in mental health first aid, run group therapy in the salon and barbershop space. So this has been my life mission in terms of really thinking about how to have an authentic engagement with Black people around mental health and wellness.
Thank you so much. I am telling you, we've got an infrastructure for you to plant that seed right now. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Welcome it. I welcome it. Again, the last name, right? Together. And so even going real African with my first name too, though, it means health. So Afia actually means health in Kiswahili. So my parents really implanted that mission. And so I'm excited to collaborate. You know, Dr. T, I've been trying to collaborate with you for years. I'm just going to put that out there. You emailed. I don't know if you connected the face to the name, but I've been, especially in the DC area, conducting research on the psychology of Black hair.
Well, I'm so glad that we are finally here together. And for the audience to recognize why was a law. There was a law passed called the Crown Act because people are discriminated against hairstyle. Why the new Supreme Court justice who will soon sit, and her locks was so telling.
It wasn't just no engine locks; those called sister locks, man.
Yep. And guess what, y'all? She goes to my hair salon, the salon I work at in Silver Spring, Maryland. Katanji goes there. So this is a big thing that we've been celebrating, and also figuring out how the security part works for her to get her locks tightened and styled. So she's actually a part of my hair care community too.
Wonderful. Good. You see, this is powerful, man. All right.
Just one more thing, man. One more thing.
Go ahead.
You went and got your PhD, then you went and got your hair skill, and now you're in a salon. Just say one thing you've learned as the stylist side of you that they didn't teach you in your PhD program.
Okay, good question. I would say the healing power of physical touch, right? Because as a clinical psychologist, as Dr. Jones knows, you can't go around rubbing people's heads, right? And so there's something very powerful in the silence, but also with the physical touch. I know I give a mean knuckle massage for the scalp that sometimes my words can't have that same impact as touch. So I definitely see the combination of words and touch going together and feeling beautiful afterwards too.
And it's working. Thank you.
You know, we talked about it before, but your stylists and your barbers are probably the only people that we allow to be intimate with us in public, that we don't know well, or that we're not in a relationship with, right? Men don't allow men to touch their face unless you're a barber, or rub on your head unless you see what I'm saying? And so there's a certain intimacy or not necessarily intimacy, but a certain comfort that we have with our barbers and stylists, a trust that we have with them that's hard to explain. And so we're going to talk about that. That's wonderful. Dr. Afia Emily Shaka.
You got
I love it. Man. We're gonna start a rally.
Knocked it out the park. Right. So we're excited about this. In the smiles, you see the smiles, right? Beautiful smiles, right? Wait. Last but certainly not least, let's bring. Excuse me, doctor. Dr. Mel, Dr. Melissa Clark. She has been on the show for since I know a year or so. I first found out about her by watching her show. Excuse me, doctor. And we called her, and she agreed to come on this show. I think I was on her show, and then she agreed to come on the show. She is part of us. We love Dr. Melissa Clark. She is an incredible person. She's a physician, media, medical contributor. She has a way, again, of really taking complex issues and making them simple, where the average person, the everyday person can understand them. And so it's so great to have her with us. Yeah, what were you saying?
Mayor, before she comes up, I just want to say this about what Dr. Mel does and what this pandemic has done. People, there's a silver lining behind this pandemic, and it's what we're doing right here. Do you know how many Black folk have now met a psychologist who looks like them? There are people out there who haven't done that. They're doing that now in this space. This existed before the pandemic, but now we have harnessed it. Let's not walk away from it. We're committed to be here every Thursday to bring you this show and to help transform these trusted venues of our barbershops and beauty salons. But Dr. Mel had a technical thing. We're getting her.
Okay. Oh, that's what happened. Okay, yeah. I knew. I saw it. I didn't know why you did that. But let's
go to Hollywood Squares.
Let's go to Hollywood Squares. Let's come back. We'll bring Dr. Mel up.
But I wanted our colleagues here to know. I did not know that background about you got your PhD and did the hairstyling. Because one of the things that we've done with our barbers and stylists is also get them trained as certified community health workers, legitimate. And one of our barbers out in Madison, Wisconsin, has literally launched a men's health clinic, a free clinic for men. And Aaron Perry, I see him up in the Hollywood Square. Hang in there, Aaron. We're going to bring you up a little bit later. How did he pull that off? He's a former police officer. The people are people of substance. They're business people, entrepreneurs. And if they're still in business at this point in the pandemic, guess what? They're going to be in business 10, 20 years from now. That's our safe harbor.
Mm-hmm. You know what, while we are waiting, let's bring Aaron up. Aaron Perry has been with us again. You know, it's like everybody, it's like a family reunion.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
And if the folks behind the scenes, Aaron just got an award. If you have that announcement, we'll put it up on a slide. Hey, Aaron, congratulations,
Hi.
Man.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's been really good. And, you know, I really owe it
Tell these folks who you are.
Yeah, well, so I'm Aaron Perry. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I opened up 3 men's health centers inside 3 Black barbershops here. And then in February, we just opened our free Perry Family free clinic for uninsured and underinsured Black men. And so
give it up.
Thank you.
It ain't easy.
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
It is not, you know. We have this, so we partner with the Edgewood College Nursing School of Nursing. So we've been in partnership with them for 5 years. What they do is they bring 8 nursing students, and they come and they do an 8-week internship with us. And so we have them scattered all around the different barbershops. But the neat thing is this is such a perfect, show to come back on, because they just reported out on their aggregate report. So after every, when they're nursing interns in, they do a big report. And the data from this last report really reflected the real impact on COVID. So of 280 men that were screened, we do mental health and depression screenings. Of 280 men that were screened, every last one of them screened over a 7. And so we do from 1 to 10. Obviously, 1, no stress. 10, I'm out of my mind stress. 7, literally 100% of them scored 7 or above. And they talked about the various issues, you know, a little bit of the baby mama drama, but mostly with, the job being impacted because of COVID. Guys have legitimate fears because of COVID. Most of them have been vaccinated, but they still have this fear, because if you are not careful, you can buy into a lot of the misinformation that's still floating around. And particularly being here in Wisconsin, we got a lot of information that's floating around, and such a divided government here. So, but that's pretty much what we do. Right now with our free clinic, we are filling a critical gap, because we're finding these uninsured and underinsured Black men in our community. These are the brothers that have just said, hey, I've tried, You didn't respond. You listened to my voice, but you ignored my pain. I am no longer interested in working with you. And so they don't realize sometimes that they're turning their back on their own health, but we're bringing them back in, and we got a phenomenal place where they can come in and just be themselves and get primary health care, physical therapy, diabetic foot care, and mental health counseling.
Do you guys hear what is possible when you believe that you can make the impossible possible? That's what Aaron has done.
Let's do this, because I think it's important. You know, when you get on a plane, they say, in case this plane go down and you lose cabin pressure, they say a mask is going to come down. They say, put the mask on yourself first, then help somebody else, right? So we want to talk a little bit about the vicarious trauma. We brought that up, internalized trauma, vicarious trauma. Internalizing the trauma of other people, particularly when you are in a space where you are talking to somebody for an hour, 2, 3 hours, right? And they're kind of unloading. Is that a good word? I don't know, maybe.
Self-disclosing.
Right, self-disclosing, whatever. But they releasing on you, you know,
right.
You know. And so one is, Dr. Smith Bynum, tell us about what internalized and vicarious trauma is. Let's just talk from that, and then Dr. Emily Shaka, I want you to kind of keep us to understand what that does to people when you do it and you don't think about it, and how it can have an adverse impact on your health and mental health and otherwise. First, Dr. Smith Bynum.
Sure. When I think about the way that you laid it out, one of the things that can happen is that the stylist or barber could have a set of childhood events or life events that happen to them that perhaps have been unaddressed and not treated. And they may have buried it because that's one of the ways that we cope, that we cope with trauma. And then that client comes in and they have had a very similar life experience, and you might not have seen them, and then they begin to disclose, I was raped, or I was assaulted, or I saw, my parent, and my parent was abusive to me, and I hadn't been in touch with them, and they came around, and it just brought up all this stuff for me. And you are, in your professional headspace, and then sometimes what can happen is that pierces that your professional facade, and you may be able to, if you're fortunate, hold it together while you're working with that client. But at the end of the day, when you go home that night, it could have cut open inside of you psychologically all of the stuff, the buried pain, the sadness, the fear, the trauma. And that can have a ripple effect throughout your life, So if you've been burying something that's significant, because trauma can happen on many different scales. And what we've been thinking about in terms of conceptualization of trauma, that my understanding, I'd be curious to hear from my colleagues that are in regular clinical practice, but my understanding is that we often thought of trauma as being catastrophic life events, like you survived Hurricane Katrina, or you are a domestic violence survivor or something like that. But it can also be dealing with chronic workplace bullying, right? Over and over and over again. Or it can be dealing with chronic social isolation from, your childhood. So that there's a spectrum of trauma, and that all of that shapes how we interact with the world. And so for that stylist who is listening to that trauma, a client can bring in an individual experience and open it up. Or it could be the daily sharing of smaller traumas and larger ones over a longer period of time, such that you find that it's hard to recover and bounce back to your normal self. You may feel some, this is how it shows, some numbing, some desire to disassociate. You may not want to go back to work because you now associate your workplace with the disclosure of all of these stressful life events. It can disrupt your sleep. It can disrupt your mood. You feel sad, angry, frustrated, irritable. There's a symptom that we call the hypervigilance, where your toddler who is effervescent and full of energy, that you usually have the energy to play with and the patience to play with them, and they may do something and it triggers you, and you are angry, short, irritable with your kid or other people in your life. So it can show up in a number of different ways. And I think that we're now coming to understand how widespread it is. And one of the things I would say about Black folks is that because of the social ills and the policies that have affected our families and community, that we are more likely, I think, as a community to have experienced some type of intergenerational trauma that gets passed down. That's something I've been thinking about a lot, just as a professional. But that would be my 2 cents on that.
You know, what's interesting, I'm glad that you talked about triggers, because a lot of times people have been traumatized and kind of suppressed it. And it's conjured by others sharing their thoughts. And so, Dr. Emily Shaka, what are triggers, and how can we discern if we have been exposed to a trigger in our lives? How do we identify that?
Great question. I know that it's become common language to say that I've been triggered, right? But we don't always define that. I think about the human mind being storied, right? That we organize our life experiences through this internalized and evolving story. And sometimes when we're in these present moments, someone can say something or do something that makes us time travel to something that's occurred in our past, and we connect to it. Our mind doesn't always have the same time orientation as our external world. So it can feel just as intense as a reaction of that past experience of trauma, right? So thinking about trauma as a deeply distressing or disturbing experience, that we can bring it into our present tense and maybe even into our future, depending on how it's navigated. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the physical and psychological toll then of being triggered, right? In terms of, it could look like your heart racing. It could look like feeling shaky or sweaty, a full panic attack, to feeling completely numb. Like Dr. Smith Bynum was saying, in terms of that numbness, or it can come with depression or paranoia, social anxieties. In terms of recognizing triggers and traumas can be very subjective, where it's a personal experience, where the same statement could mean something different to someone else, but considering your personal life story, it has a lot of meaning and significance.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Jones, there's something to having a sounding board where, you know, sometimes people feel like they have to say something or have to give some profound statement, but oftentimes it's not required. People just want to have somebody to listen to them, right? They say the antidote to any poison is the poison itself. That lies within the problem is the solution, right? And so many times people, as they talk things out, they can come to certain solutions and resolutions within themselves. Is that the same thing for dealing with barbers and stylists, that maybe sometimes you're just a sounding board?
Yeah, I think for many people, if you think about the pandemic and the role of barbers and stylists, that may have been the only person that you could really even see during the pandemic that would still see you. I know some people, you know, you can't see your doctors, you can't do anything else, but you may still be able to get in with your stylist during the pandemic. And that may have been the only person that you can really talk to. And it's a pretty consistent person in a lot of people's lives. You see your hairstylist pretty regularly and you trust them. And it is an intimate space where they're seeing your hair, they're seeing your life and how things unfold. And so people definitely like the catharsis of expressing themselves and of venting and getting things off your chest. It's very important. That's a big part of therapy. In fact, it's been shown that even if a therapist doesn't do anything else but just kind of listen and nod and agree, it's therapeutic for people. So people need to just feel heard. Okay. And even in my work, I'm not actually doing therapy with the veterans. I'm doing assessments. but a lot of them will say, this was great. I'm like, I'm not doing treatment. We do have to talk about a lot, but it's just the idea that they've talked about their whole life here. And now it's like, okay, I've gotten so vulnerable. I feel a connection here with you. And so there's a rapport built when people know you. And when you're trusting someone with your hair, you're trusting them with a lot. Our hair is our pride and joy. So if I'm putting my hair in your hands and then you also are keeping me as a customer, that means I trust you and I want to talk to you. I think the problem comes when it goes beyond if you're looking at your stylist to be more than just a sounding board, because family and friends and pastors and laypersons can be sounding boards, but we also have to wonder if it becomes something that's more clinically significant, if that's going to be too much for the barber, because again, they're there as professionals. They may care about their clients, but that's a lot of weight to take on if they have their own personal struggles to go through and then they're trying to manage their clients' issues. And that's why I always think professional help is best, because we are trained to not take our work home. It's not a perfect science, but we are trained to be able to provide science and research to help you with your problem without it being something. I think often in the barbershop, everybody's talking. So the therapist, the barber's talking about their problems along with so there can be an exchange of trauma sometimes depending on what's going on. So I definitely think the sounding board is great. Everybody needs someone to talk to. And sometimes the barber may be the only person for that particular individual.
Mr. Mayor, I was just thinking, just my observations in the shop itself. You're absolutely right. And this is why the black barbershop is different than, hair cutlery. TV on every wall.
What you said, hair cutlery? What's
or supercut?
What's that? A new dance?
It's a place we won't. It's a place we don't go. TV on every wall on different channels, and the music's on, and everybody's talking. And one of the things in my uneducated observation is that there's like a cacophony of sound, but the barber stylist is right in your ear, and there's some privacy that happens. And somehow they feel more comfortable with rather than sitting down one-on-one, just me and Mia looking at each other.
Right.
I think the barbershops and salons can help prepare people to come into therapy ready. And even for you guys to come into the shop in a private room and do it, because that's the other way we got the men involved. We did it right there in the shop, and they loved it. They said, "When's the next meeting?"
Well, let's go in the shop. Let's bring up Mike Brown. We call him Dynamite around.
Dynamite Brown.
Dynamite.
Oh, I know he's seen a lot. Hey, Mike Brown, how you doing, buddy?
Tell him. Hey, Dynamite. Tell him a little bit about yourself, and then I want to ask you a question.
Well, I'm a certified community healthcare worker by the state of Maryland. I'm also the manager at the Shop Spa in Hyattsville, Maryland. Been cutting hair for over 30 plus years. I have an extensive clientele, and I'm very involved in each and every one of their lives.
Yeah, we talk about, barbers being there for their clients, but I think that, Dr. Jones hit on a salient point that barbers got their own issues. You know what I mean? And so, how do you compartmentalize, or have you figured out how to compartmentalize what you're hearing from your clients and not take that home to your family?
Absolutely. You can, depending on what the topic is from that person, you could have been through something similar in your life, in your past. And the whole key is just to meet them where they are. And that's what I do. Like, I'll give you an example. Like this week, a guy, we went to school together. He's 50 something. He just got married, and he having his third kid, and he's been all happy and smiles. And then he came in and he said, Mike, we lost the baby. It's in her stomach, and we lost the baby. And he was like depressed, down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had to meet him where he was. I'm sorry, my guy, I don't always have the answers, but, you try to console him to where he was. But when he left, we were laughing, and on a good note, and to where he came in, he was kind of down, kind of short. Mm-hmm. But when he left, we were talking. "I see you soon, Mike. I appreciate you, buddy. And
Yeah.
you know, that just makes you feel good right there that you're able to touch people by just dropping the right message or the right line when it's needed. You know, and it's not always perfect, but it's a communication that's understood, that he was able to leave on a good language. I can't give it to you in your PhD terms, but it happened in the shop.
Well, you know what's happening
Let's
is
give it
intuitive.
up. Come on.
You know, it's intuitive.
That's right,
You
Mike.
know,
Right.
you know what we have to do is we got to stop. And you all know this. Although I call y'all doctors and all of that, y'all just regular folk to me. I just want y'all to know that, you know. And so we kind of let the doctors go out the window, and we try to just talk to each other on a real note. Let's bring up Dr. Melissa Clark. We lost her for a minute, and I'm about to lose my voice. Hey, Dr. Clark, how you doing?
Hey,
Excuse me,
Neil.
doctor.
Excuse
How are
me.
you? How are you? How's everybody
Wonderful.
doing?
You know, I mean, you have been on the front line, not only as a physician, but literally on the front line in trying to explain to people what we're in and how to navigate this space to the point that they can live through it, right? And not just go through it, but grow through it.
Yes.
And you are, I admire you so much, and I share that with you privately and publicly. I admire you so much for what I have seen you do. You heard kind of what we're talking about, vicarious trauma that leads to compassion fatigue. We've not gotten to the point of compassion fatigue, meaning that self-preservation is the first law of nature. And when I'm so bombarded with your stuff, I have to push back. I say, I can't take no more. I got to take care of me, right? That has to be the same thing, not only for barbers and stylists, psychologists, but also physicians, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the years that I worked in the emergency department, before every shift, I would pray and meditate as a way of sort of self-protection, not taking on the energy of all the, patients that I saw in any given shift, because as you can imagine, for healthcare workers right now, unfortunately, they are going through compassion fatigue. And I think it's exacerbated by the fact that it seems to my healthcare colleagues that the public who's refusing to get vaccinated not only doesn't care about themselves, but doesn't care about the stress that it's causing to healthcare workers. And so there's a real challenge to make sure that burnout doesn't continue to happen as we go through surge after surge after surge, and we're about to go through another surge. And so hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed that it's not as bad as the previous surges, because we know that so many people have had COVID already. We know that we're almost around 70% of people over 5 years old are vaccinated. So those will be protective factors. But we're still already seeing a 56% increase in cases from last week and a 20% increase in hospitalizations from just last week. And so I just want to impress upon everybody, please wear your masks. Please get your booster if you're not already boosted. And if you're not already vaccinated, please get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Dr.
Let me just say this.
No, go ahead.
You don't want to end up in a hospital.
No.
You don't.
Absolutely not. And you certainly don't want to end up dead because of something that you could be avoidable, right?
Yeah.
And we recognize, and I think that's the tragedy. It's that many of those million people, and a significant number of them, did not have to die.
Yes.
Right. And
So true.
and we have to really bring that to focus. Dr. Mel, the healthcare profession, many of which had to deal with the issue of trust, right? And we
Yes.
talked about it with the physicians, with the psychologists. Well, that's the same thing with you guys too. A lot of people who did not trust because, you told me to do this. Then now you asked me to do this. Now you're asking me to do this because it's been dynamic, right?
Mhm.
And so people are saying, you know what to do, right? And I think how you frame the issue determines who embrace the cause. Maybe we should have told the people that we don't know everything now, but we do know that this is what we need to do at this point. Should we have
Yes.
not done that?
Look, there's so many layers to this trust thing, Mayor Neal. We know historically in the African American community that we've had many reasons to mistrust healthcare providers over the years. I mean, of course, we've talked about the syphilis study that was done in Tuskegee. We've talked about that. Even before that, we've talked about medical experimentation and sterilization that have been done in the Black community without their knowledge sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the groundwork was already shaky, right? Then we layered on that the initial missteps in the pandemic, reassuring people that, the president at the time, reassuring people that, oh, this is going to be gone by April, right? By after Easter. Oh, there won't be that many deaths. We'll be fine. We're, just all the miscommunication that happened. And then there was the intentional misinformation that has been spread through social media. So you already had this fertile ground. You throw these seeds of misinformation on it that are ready to receive it. And of course, it's going to grow like weeds, which is what we've seen. So there are all these layers to this misinformation. And, people like you, people like Dr. Thomas, people like myself with the Black Coalition Against COVID, there have been any number of organizations, doctors of color who've been out here saying, look, we recognize all that, right? But please look at the people who are dying disproportionately. Understand that we ourselves have gotten vaccinated. We're doing fine. Please go ahead and get vaccinated. The consequences of not getting vaccinated far outweigh any risks of vaccination. And we're still saying these messages now, and it's really out of a love of our community that we are doing it. It's wanting to avoid senseless deaths, prevent senseless deaths. And we're not just talking about deaths. We're talking about long COVID too.
Absolutely.
I did an episode on my show about long COVID, interviewed a woman who was pregnant when she got COVID, sick for maybe a couple days, fevers, chills. But now, 3 months out from a successful delivery, she can't even play with her 4-year-old. She can barely, have the energy to breastfeed because she's still dealing with long COVID, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, body aches, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, as I'm hearing Dr. Mel, I want her and everyone else to know that the barbers and stylists, some of whom you're going to meet tonight, are on that front line.
Absolutely.
Their shops are trusted information centers.
Yes. And
as early as yesterday, we're boosting flu vaccines, HIV tests. We'll have some of them come up. And tomorrow, on Monday, there's going to be a big one in Philadelphia. You're going to hear about all this. Our shops are still a robust place for us to get the information to save our community.
Yeah, I think we dropped the ball too fast, Dr. Mel. I think it's like we spiked the ball on the 30-yard line. That's not a touchdown, that's a fumble, right?
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Great analogy.
Right. The point of the matter is we needed to have been talking about boosting the booster, right? The whole time, not just getting the first shot, because some people just got one shot, right?
Right.
They didn't get the second shot, nor did they get the booster. And I think in order to truly protect yourself, you need to get whatever it is available to you. And we need to frame the issue differently. Not that this is some kind of something, it is something to help your body to ward off something that can kill you.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
I hear a lot of people talk about, well, I'm taking my supplements, my CMOS, my echinacea, my vitamin C, my vitamin D. Great. Please do that. But those things don't create antibodies. And antibodies are the only things that can take down the COVID virus. There are only 2 ways to get antibodies. Number 1, you get an infection, your body makes antibodies. Number 2, you get vaccinated. your body makes antibodies. With COVID, the more safer way to create antibodies in your body is to get vaccinated.
Right.
What the CMOS and the vitamin C, the vitamin D, all that does is it just enhances your natural health. It doesn't keep you from getting infected or spreading the virus or getting long COVID.
Yeah. And we go, I'm so glad you talked about long COVID, because that some people say, you know, everybody don't die from it. Yeah, you may not die, but you can be severely altered in terms of your quality of life as a result of getting COVID.
May not die, but it will change your life.
Right. Let's go to
Dorothy out there.
Bring some folk out here. We're gonna bring Dorothy out. Let's do this first. Let's get a pulse.
Okay.
All right, let's get a pulse, and then I'm gonna start bringing folk on. Dr. Cooper, get ready. All right, get ready, Dr. Cooper. Dorothy Reynolds, we're gonna go to Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Not
get it right.
Right. All right. We're gonna go to Miss Harris. We're gonna go Najee Harris. Get Najee Harris. I'm gonna bring you on.
You got it right.
Okay.
And, Andre's out there in Atlanta.
Andre, well, you know, I don't know when I'm gonna bring Andre on. Maybe after the show. No, but Sandra Jenkins, get ready. Everybody, get ready. Stacy Ruffin, get ready. Terry Branch, if you are available, you're gonna need your video on, and I'm gonna try to bring all of you on. Fred Spry, if you get ready, I'm just gonna try to bring folk on. Dr. T, tell them what to do about the as we get a pulse of how we feel collectively.
I think these psychologists will like this strategy we've used since the beginning of the pandemic on these shows. And we have a whole collection of what we call the word cloud. And we're asking you to do one thing. Think of a word right now that best reflects how you're feeling at this moment in the pandemic. One word, but as many words as possible, one word at a time, drop it in the chat. For those of you out there in social media, on our Facebook feed, just drop it in the Q&A. And just for the next 30, 60 seconds, keep those words coming. Don't worry about spelling, as fast as possible. And our crew behind the scenes will build the cloud. And they'll let us know what people are experiencing. And we have found that to be a very interesting ebb and flow of what's happening out in the broader society. And it reminds me, Mr. Mayor, the conversation we were having about therapy. And I'll say this because for me, when I'm in the barbershop, I'm around more Black people in total than I am in my everyday comings and goings at work, if you know what I mean. And in that space, I hear Black men literally falling out, belly laughing. I mean, just laughing. And I'm saying, where have I ever heard these brothers have that kind of comfort, that kind of laughter, and I think it's therapeutic. That's me as a layman looking at it, but might give you a little hint. The brother came in, down for a good reason, but left smiling. I'll see you later. There's something in that space that I say is sacred. And whatever we do, let us not destroy that.
Isn't laughter therapeutic or medicinal? I mean, I've always heard that.
That's
is that true?
They say.
Huh?
Yes,
is that true?
It releases endorphins that help to actually balance out the stress hormones that we have in our bodies. So absolutely.
Well, if you saw them laughing, rolling on the floor, you'd think they'd be overdosing from that.
That's a beautiful
and
thing.
I think it's because of there's so much pressure when it comes, and then the whole place is laughing. I think we need to have a way, and if it needed to be tears, that it could happen as well, and find that to be a place of support. So group therapy kind of breaks out sometimes naturally, and it would help if we had guidance of what we're observing and what we're seeing.
Yeah. Let me go to Dr. Sharon Cooper. She's been with us from the beginning as well. She has done a lot of work with Dr. T. Dr. Cooper, how you doing?
All is well. All is well. Thank you.
Will
It
you
is
tell
a-
them a little bit about yourself?
Oh, wow. I am Dr. Thomas is my mentor. I had the privilege, and as tonight, the privilege of working with him along with the barbers such as Mike, Fred, and the hairstylist. I can't leave out Katrina in working to achieve CHW status. And now we're trying to move towards building a CHW training program at the University of Maryland through the Center of Health Equity.
Certified community health workers. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. And we are looking, hopefully, in bringing that training program at the university as well. So we're working behind the scenes in order to bring that to fruition.
Yeah.
And
As you bring people on, we have to talk about not just what they do for others, but we also have to equip them to deal and to protect themselves.
Yes.
How important is that, Dr. Cooper?
extremely. And just this whole process and working in criminal justice diversion programs, not only do you want to build a culture of health in this instance, but a culture of trust. And we understand the role of a collaborative framework and interdisciplinary professionals working as a whole in order to bring about a holistic approach in order to address the needs of individuals that you're serving. Mainly, if you look at other areas, we have individuals with comorbidities, and that's the beauty of having specialists, here with our psychologists and people with that background, the medical professional, and also integrating that into their plan of care. Because we find through science and through evidence that just tackling one aspect, as we've learned tonight, does not get to the root causes of problems. And I think it's so important, as it's been discussed throughout, that mental, emotional health, as well as the physical, they go hand in hand, they're interconnected. And I don't want to take too much time because there's so many other people online that have a wealth of information and knowledge to share.
Yeah,
well,
you stay close.
Yeah, you just hang out. We love you. Hey, let's go to Arkansas and bring up Dorothy Reynolds. She just had a one of those clinics, right? Dr. Hey, Dorothy Reynolds, tell us a little bit about, one is you in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, right? Right.
That's correct, in Pine Bluff.
Okay, tell us a little bit about what happened.
Well, we on April 23rd, we had in conjunction with the State Health Department and the City of Pine Bluff, we partnered together, and we had a health clinic that offered information and testing for blood pressure, blood glucose, and HIV and AIDS. And we had 41 people to come.
Give it up. Come on now.
Okay.
41 people that couldn't even do it in the shop.
From 10 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon. And as we were closing down, we had people still coming. They varied in ages, and they were eager to be there. It was a beautiful windy day, but nice, warm. And so the turnout, I think that had a lot to do with it. But we gave away T-shirts that were designed by the State Health Department. I don't know if y'all can see it or not.
Yeah,
we see that.
beautiful,
That's
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
So everyone got a T-shirt, and everyone received a $25 Visa gift card to be used any way they wanted to. We had people that came from the Salvation Army that were homeless.
Okay.
But our barbershop gave those people free haircuts. Whenever they come, they get free haircuts. And so sometimes they get the cut and leave, and sometimes they'll come back and forth because they are there for information and conversation, as you said. And it could be also for mental health comfort, because if you're in a situation where you're homeless and you're away from family, the gathering around other people, just hearing other people talk, is therapeutic. I had one of the stylists said the other day that, Miss Reynolds, don't you realize that this is a therapy center? Even though we focus on coming to relax, the ladies know when you go to the salon, put your head back in the bowl, you're there for relaxation. And so a lot of times you don't ever know what the conversation's gonna be. But I would say most definitely health education would be good in the shops because we are the therapists.
Well, you are absolutely right. Well, we are so appreciative of you and what you've done and the consistency by which you have done this.
Mr. Mayor,
thank you.
Let's Dorothy, you stay close. Let's bring up that cloud. Let's bring up the cloud. And I just want to say that Miss Reynolds called me before the show, a couple hours before the show, so excited about the success of her event, and that it was the very vulnerable that showed up, the people who otherwise would never get care, and they were treated with dignity and respect.
Yeah.
And Dorothy, what do you see in that cloud? The bigger the word, the more people said it.
Grateful. I'm grateful. I feel blessed that people trust us enough to come and get information from us. I have a renewed strength because by just touching one person, if we made a difference in one person's life, it's really rewarding.
Yeah. It's also somebody that's in Philadelphia. I'm not going to say what they said. The Sixers are up there, but hopeful and blessed dominates the day. Thank you so much, Dorothy Reynolds. Najee Graham Henrys, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm Nijee's mom, and we're doing well.
Oh, where's she?
She's studying.
Okay, again, studying.
Tell this audience who you are.
I'm the mother to Nijee Graham Henry. She's an 11-year-old barber, and she's also known as the world's youngest female barber.
And what's coming up?
So she's going to have her first clinic this Monday, May 16th.
Come on,
at Rejuvenate Salon and Spa in Winco, Pennsylvania. And Miss Stacy Ruffin is allowing us to use her space. So if you all are in the area, please feel free to stop by. Follow us on social media. Our handle is the world's youngest female barber. So if you all are not in the area, if you guys could help us promote, we would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we're going to see
from 3 to 7. 3 to 7.
Absolutely. Well, we are so appreciative of you. You have been such an advocate, right, for your daughter. And so we are so appreciative of seeing that kind of nurturing up close. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
We'll be promoting it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We'll be promoting it. And this is in Philadelphia. So
it's right outside of Philadelphia in Winco at Rejuvenate Salon Spa.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Let me see if we can bring up let me see where we go from here.
I see Sandra out there and Stacy. And it's 8:13. Can you believe how fast this is
Sandra
going?
Jenkins, bring her up. Sandra Jenkins. Hey, hi Sandra, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Yes.
Good. Tell people where you are.
I'm located and I live in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. However, Naturalist Hair is rooted in Montgomery County, just outside of Philadelphia. So, you know, to have naturalists in Montgomery County, we serve a vast of people who live and amount of folks who live in Philadelphia, Delaware, New Jersey. You know, they have all spread out and they find themselves somewhere planted at naturalists for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about the conversation that's happening here?
Oh, the conversation tonight is just so, oh my gosh, it's surreal. It's exactly what goes on in the salon. every single day, serving those clients from the young to the old is just so, it's a position that you go beyond just styling their hair. And over the years, working in the industry for, let's just say 30 plus years, and taking on that interest in the hair care piece of the industry, I feel very honored to be identified as that salon, that individual that really takes that extra step and that extra mile beyond just hairstyling. Right. So that is absolutely what keeps you planted in this industry, even beyond COVID. So it all pulls together and it makes sense.
So you would welcome these psychologists to come in your salon?
Absolutely.
And okay.
All right. All right. Hey, Doc, we got to keep moving. Katrina Randolph, want to bring her up.
There she is.
Katrina has been with us from the beginning. Hey, Katrina Randolph, how are you doing?
Hello there. I am fine. My name is Katrina Randolph, everyone. I'm the owner of Choice Shades Hair Studio in Capitol Heights, Maryland. I'm also a certified community health worker through the state of Maryland, and I'm also part of the Hair Network with Dr. Stephen Thomas. And I think this is a very great conversation that we're having tonight. As a matter of fact, me and my staff was having this conversation before I left because they were asking me what was the conversation for tonight. And so we began to discuss the conversation. So they asked me, what is compassion fatigue? So we began to look it up and we began to share dialogue about what it was and what we were feeling ourselves after being in the salon for over a week, after dealing with our clients and listening to their mental health conversations and what they were going through and being able to, take in all that information from them and be able to share our dialogue with them. And I just try to remind them that we're not the medical professionals, but we can definitely listen and we can definitely share information. So tonight we were just, right before I came on, we were just talking about the compassion fatigue. And we were like, wow, we really do feel this way once we're, off work at the end of the week. We feel exhausted because we have taken in so much information. So I just try to encourage them all the time to take your own mental health break every week. Take a day of self-care for yourself so that you won't be overwhelmed with all the information that you take in from your client base that you see all week long. So as I always say, this is a great platform. I'm forever grateful to be a part of this platform every week. And I always take something back to the salon that I can share with my colleagues and our client base. So it's always a pleasure.
You know how much we love you, young lady. We just absolutely adore you so much. Stacey Ruffin, what's going on? And you need to quit it with that Philadelphia thing. I see you. Just,
you said it. Come on,
that's what you call. That's what you call product placement.
I'm at the game right now, and we're down by one. It's halftime, so I'm in the bathroom right now talking to you guys. So I'm at the playoff game, but I just wanted to come on. My husband's looking at me like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I have to say," and just want to promote Najee coming to Rejuvenate. We're super excited. All the barbers are ready. The complex is ready. We're going to get it out there and make this a great vaccination clinic. We're trying to get it to all the schools that's right there in the vicinity. We're putting it out to them. And I just want to say, go Sixers. And I'm Stacy from Winco, owner of Rejuvenate Salon and Spa, ready for Najee, ready to vaccinate as many kids and many adults as we can. Go Sixers!
Absolutely.
You see, we got the spirit of the shop in the house.
Absolutely. Take care. We love you so much.
All right, I love you guys. I gotta go now.
Okay. All right. Andre, bring Andre up.
Andre from Atlanta.
Let me
and get Fred up here. Both of them can come up.
Fred Spry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andre Russell from Atlanta, Georgia, with the barbershop inside the airport, the busiest airport in the world. Yeah. But I did want to say something because someone said something today, Dr. Afia Emily Shaka.
Yeah.
Dumbo. However, I have noticed something within several of my shops. Well, before I started closing them down in the malls, I've had a lot of PAs and NAs, nurses, and coming in and they're doing stylists. and they're having different types of conversations with the clients. So, but I'm looking at what our group tonight, I'm beginning to understand where I think what they're experiencing is personal growth, trying to share things with everyone. And of course, I love that. But is that the same way that you feel? Like, because you said now you're a stylist and you went to school to become your PhD, and now you're a stylist as well. How does that link? I'm sorry.
I was muted. I was seeing where you were going. Yeah. It's actually so fluid. In terms of really being an active listener. So any therapist knows that's like the most critical skill set to have in traditional psychotherapy. But all right, I'm gonna talk negatively for a second. There is a stylist at my salon who is not the most gifted with her hands. But she is an amazing conversationalist, and her books are always full. Why? Because she listens to every little detail and remembers. So even if the hair is not quite looking like the picture,
not on fleet, it's not on fleet, but she make up in other ways. Huh?
But they want to come back. They want to tell her about that job interview. They want to tell her about the date. They want to tell her about these different things. And so it's so rare that Black women in particular are paid attention to in such detail that I find it very parallel. The same skill sets of me being a licensed clinical psychologist transfer over really well to being a hair care professional. They go so well in terms of how do you really care for someone, and so that you connect with them emotionally. And so I see it really clearly.
What is active listenership? Hold on one second. Hold up one second. What is active listeners? What does that mean in other terms?
Okay, active listeners, basically it's letting someone know that you understood them. Sometimes, all right, y'all don't come for me for this. Sometimes I feel like some stylists or barbers will give advice real quick without understanding the circumstance, right? Oh, you need to leave him. Like, but wait, you don't know that
right.
My grandmother that time. And I'm so good. Like, and so that skill set of actually like repeating, paraphrasing, repeating things back, summarizing, being curious with someone. Have you ever had a conversation where you spoke to someone and just by them listening, they're like, I never thought about it like that before, right? Just that so clear, and being a mirror to what was being said is healing. So that's active listening in terms of being so engaged and about, hi, I'm saying hi to your dog.
Yeah. That's
what I'd like to do is, I've said this before, inside the barbershop, all the barbers and stylists, they do listen, but the information that they share has very little depth in some instances, if any depth at all. However, it sounds good to the people and they leave happy. I'd like to try it and like Perry Aaron, wherever he is, I don't know where he went, to try and instill some more of these type of things into the shops, because I'm one of those kind of guys, I don't know how to do one shop. I had 10, but then before I had 5 Burger King, not McDonald's, I had 10 Church's Chicken. I'm a people kind of guy.
Yeah, well, you're an entrepreneur, and one lady said entrepreneur. I mean, preneur.
Look out now, look out.
Fred, bring up Fred. Hey, Fred.
Hey, Dr. T, hey, everybody. I'm listening to everything. So let me step outside because you can only tell me.
So you see the barbers and stylists are in real time in their space. Hey, Fred's one of our original barbers that launched the whole campaign. We started with Fred. He lost his video, but Fred, just real quick, thumbnail.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, real quick, who you are and what you think of this conversation.
I'm Fred Spry. I'm the owner of the Shop Spa here in Hyattsville, Maryland. Also a certified healthcare worker here in the state of Maryland. And I've been working with Dr. T for like 12 years now. And it's been amazing because we've changed a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things come and go. We watched a lot of people come and go. And this pandemic, we've been fighting through getting people to save themselves. It's been like a war in our own community. People have been like against what's their best interest. I have people that took one, like you said earlier, I've been listening to the whole thing, is that people took one shot, they haven't taken the second one. And so everyone around me has taken all the shots and the booster. Now, the problem that we're seeing here and amongst the whole state of Maryland is a lot of people is like, I'm not taking the second booster. I know one person or two people max that has not taken their shots and they had the same results. Well, you know, as many others that have been vaccinated and boosted. Myself, I try to get people incentive to where they can say themselves because I love our community. I can't help it. God made me that way. And we've been just trying to get people to do what they're supposed to do. I have brought like about 7 people just last week to get their second booster.
Okay.
We've given them incentives. I'm actually want to talk to Dr. T so we can get together and put something together so we can do this free haircuts and salon, get hairstyles just to get people down there to get their second booster and those that are not vaccinated. I don't know many people that have not been vaccinated at all. Most everyone has been vaccinated, I know. But like Dr. T can tell you firsthand, my partner with a nonprofit, he had passed away, he was not vaccinated. I cut all of his family is not vaccinated. They are against the vaccination. They believe that people that die have other underlying conditions, and that's why they died. And I know firsthand that's not the case. But the problem is we got social media, we have a lot of people against what we're trying to do to help the community and help our community because, we need everyone to be vaccinated in order for this to be over and done with.
Hey,
so
Fred.
It's been, yes.
Say your friend's name who passed.
Luis Henderson.
How many kids did he leave?
Has 9 children and like 5 grandchildren. And I had to bring another child he had in I had to bring in, I had to be the bad guy and bring out another secret child into the opening. They didn't brought into their family. They're so happy to have her. And it's like, it was a big deal. Trust me, a really big deal. And I can show you the obituary. You've seen the obituary. The mayor involved. You got Obama right there when the pictures with him. You have Sam. You have what's my guy? Jesse Jackson. Yeah. And you also have Billy D. Williams in the picture with him. This guy was a well-known guy. He was a very important guy. He died way before his time. His 60th birthday. His 60th birthday was on October 12th. They did a surprise birthday party for him on October 16th because he didn't like indoor events because he was not vaccinated. He didn't want to be around nobody. And he ended up dying exactly 2 weeks after his surprise birthday party, which was something I could not tell him. I got pictures of live, and it was really, really crazy. I mean, I'm still in shock.
So we have his program, his funeral program is in the barbershop up by the mirrors to remind them.
It's a serious situation.
Yeah.
Somebody saw it yesterday. The guy that's trying to do a book on everything and with the barbershop and everything we got going on, he didn't know that Lewis died. He broke down crying yesterday. He couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, let me say this. Thanks, Fred,
Freddie.
for all you do, man. And you all don't know this, but we got 2 minutes.
I can't believe it.
That's how it happens. Let me say this. Everybody needs somebody that I don't know how to say it better than how Dr. Billy Shaka said it, that we do this together, that your name is rooted in what we need, which is togetherness, that we are our brothers and sisters keeper, and that we need to be there for each other, but we also need to understand our limitations, and we need to be able to do self-care as we help others. We need to first learn to help ourselves. I would hope that the knowledge of psychologists and psychiatrists and physicians, Dr. Mel, can permeate the stylists and the barbers' spaces where they can get the requisite information. As they begin to delve into areas that they are not really familiar with, they can figure out how to be instructive, right, in a way that they do not exacerbate the problem, but make it better. And this information that we're disseminating, I believe, is a catalyst for that end. And so, with that being said, everybody, Dr. Jones, thank you. I hope you come back again.
Please come
We'd
back.
love to have you with us. Dr. Emily Shaka, thank you so
Emily
much.
Shaka,
You
love
was
it.
just
We're
so
gonna be in
wonderful.
touch, Dr. T.
All right, we're together
Absolutely.
now.
Dr. Mel, Dr. Melissa Clark, thank you so much.
Excuse me, doctor.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mia Smith Bynum, oh Lord, thank you so much for your wonderful words.
You're very welcome.
To all of the barbers and stylists from around the country, we thank you so much for what you do. You know, this notion of vicarious trauma that leads to compassion fatigue is real. And we don't want you to stop caring out of self-preservation. Learn to take care of yourself. You owe it to yourself. Dr. T, as always, you know I love you, man, and I thank you for your leadership. And as always, I leave you with these two words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love as I lose my voice. But always remember, you got the power. Till next week, same time, on the cutting edge. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Be safe. Keep your mask.